What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Chat HVAC. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Chat HVAC, where we give you quick answers to your comfort questions. My name is Scott Jackson. I'm with Comfort Solutions Heating and Cooling here in the Cincinnati area of Ohio. And today we're going to tackle a question that I hear from almost every single homeowner. How can I keep my home comfortable this fall, this winter, without spending a fortune on utility bills? There is some good news, there is some bad news, but the news here is simple, and there are some simple steps that you can take, some free, some low cost, some a little bit more expensive, that can keep your bills down while still keeping your family cozy in the wintertime. So, before we get into all of that, I just want to give you a quick reminder. Go ahead and subscribe to the show, like the video. Those things help us out tremendously. If you want to support the show in any way, if you like what we're doing here, if you like the value that we're providing to you as the homeowner, go ahead and give us a subscribe, give us a like, hit the notification bell so you don't ever miss another episode, and share this episode with a friend. Share the show with a friend. If you've got a friend who likes to do a lot of stuff themselves and likes to work on their own things, Chat HVAC is the perfect show for them. It's a great way to understand how your HVAC system works without all the technical jargon. So, we're not going to waste any time here. Number one, why do bills even spike in the fall? Why does energy usage get higher? Why do our bills seem to be higher in the wintertime sometimes than the summertime? I'm glad you asked. So, one of the first reasons why is seasonal shifts. So if you live in a climate like Ohio that can't make up its mind in the spring and the fall as to what temperature it wants to be, most of the time it'll start off cool in the evening/morning time, and then as the day progresses, it's nothing to start a day at 40 degrees and end it at 85 degrees. It happens. It happened last week. So temperatures swinging back and forth, especially here in Ohio, but if you're in the Midwest, you probably can sympathize with that, maybe even some other climates, things like that. But sometimes the air conditioner and the furnace are both running in the same week. You know, you have one day where you're running the AC because it's 85 degrees outside. Then you have another day where you're running the furnace because it drops down to 30 and we have snow. So again, all of that has happened before. I'm not exaggerating. So that's one reason why energy usage can spike, is because you're running both of your primary appliances within the same week for multiple weeks out of the month. Behavior changes. Kids are back in school. Families are inside more during the evening, so lights, electronics, heating is used more. Lots of times we can get away with not cooling our house very often because most of the time we're outside, whether it's doing yard work, whether we're at the park, whether we're at events, things like that. The summertime, we're not really home inside the house a lot. But in the wintertime, that's not the case. It's cold outside. It's hard to go outside and do stuff unless you're doing like winter-based activities. But by and large, we spend more time in our homes in the wintertime. So that furnace or your heating appliance is probably running a little bit more than what your air conditioner does. Another reason as to why your bills can be higher in the fall/wintertime is older equipment is a factor. If your furnace is old, and we talked about the difference between an 80% furnace and a 90% furnace on last week's episode. Just to recap that real quick, visually, if you have a metal flue pipe, you have that gray sheet metal exhaust pipe coming out the top of your furnace, you have an 80% furnace, which means for every $100 you spend to heat your house, you're only feeling $80 in the house, and you're losing $20 out the exhaust pipe right away. That's kind of a good analogy as to how efficiency works for gas furnaces, things like that. But if you have an 80% furnace, this is obviously going to cost more to operate because it takes more operating time to produce the same amount of heat as you could with a 90% furnace, where, say, Lennox's highest efficiency furnace right now is a 99% efficient furnace. So compare that with the 80% efficient furnace with the same formula. You spend $100 to heat your house. $99 is actually going into the house to heat the house, and you're only losing $1 out the exhaust pipe. Translation, this means your furnace has to run a lot less. It's producing more BTUs, especially with variable speed furnaces that we have out now. These things help out a lot with maintaining temperature. It keeps your furnace, not only is it incredibly efficient when it is running, but it runs at lower capacity, so it doesn't need to produce its full amount of heat all the time, which you're getting even more efficiency out of it in that way. We might do an episode in the future on variable speed equipment versus single stage equipment and what's the benefits, why is it better, that kind of thing. Let us know in the comments if that's something that you would like to see. If you want us to compare variable speed equipment versus single stage equipment, I'd like to hear from you. So yeah, those are the three main reasons as to why we see energy bills spike in the fall. Seasonal shifts, so temperature swings back and forth. Lots of times you're using your furnace and your air conditioner in the same week. Behavior changes, so we're going from being outside a lot to being inside a lot, requiring a lot more heat. And then older equipment is probably the biggest factor as to why your gas bill may be higher than your electric bill in the summertime. But lucky for you, there are some things that we can do to try to curb that peak in your utility bill. The first of which is thermostat adjustments. So small tweaks can equal big savings. Lowering the temperature just 2 to 3 degrees can potentially save up to 5% on heating costs. If you like your house super toasty at like 74 degrees in the wintertime, maybe turn it back a little bit. Maybe see and try this experiment. See if you can get used to maybe 72 and just kind of bear that out. Maybe put on a long sleeve shirt or something while you're inside until you get used to 72 degrees. And then maybe turn it back to 70. Try to acclimate yourself to some cooler temperatures. They don't need to be all the way up at 74 all the time, especially when it's anytime below 10 degrees outside. That's just going to put an immense amount of stress on your furnace. So small tweaks in your thermostats can equal some big savings. Another thing is day versus night settings. So if your household is probably of the traditional household variety in America where the family is gone at school or work during the day, you can turn back the temperature a few degrees. I wouldn't go past 5 degrees. So if you normally set your house at 68 degrees in the wintertime like I do, I wouldn't set your temperature lower than 63 degrees because what's going to happen is when you get back, the thermostat is going to have the heat running most of the evening to try to make up the ground that it lost during the day. So, don't set your thermostat back to 55 degrees while you're at work and then expect it to be nice and warm at 68 degrees when you get home. Another thing that you can do is programmable thermostats. So you can automate these changes so you don't have to remember. You can set a schedule for when people are home, when people aren't. The approximate savings by going from your standard thermostat to a programmable thermostat is 10 to 15% per year when used correctly. Now, the upgrade to this would be going to smart thermostats, which is really kind of where everybody's at right now, if we're being honest. If you can't control your thermostat on your cell phone, what are you doing? This is 2025 we're living in here. We're not living in the past where we got mercury thermostats still on the wall. Get yourself a nice digital smart thermostat that you can see from your iPhone or your Android phone, wherever you're at, so you can monitor the changes. But you can adjust it based on occupancy. You can adjust it based on weather. Even when utilities are in peak hours, you have complete control over your heating and cooling system away from the house. So say you have somebody coming in as a guest and you're not home and you want to make sure they're nice and warm, you can turn on the thermostat for them. And all of these things, smart thermostats just provide so much flexibility and so much versatility that really the benefits, and a lot of smart thermostats will have what's called geofencing, to where it's using the location services on your phone. It knows when you're home based on your thermostat app. And when you leave the house, it automatically sets it back to its, whether it's eco temperatures or setback temperatures or whatever you want to call it. It will automatically set those things when you enter and exit the geofence. So nice feature of smart thermostats here. Another thing that you guys can do to kind of manage your utility bills, try to make them as cheap as possible in the wintertime, is HVAC maintenance and filter habits. So we talked about maintenance last week. I'm not going to go into maintenance ad nauseum the way that I did, because I just spent an entire episode talking about maintenance. And if you want to go learn about why furnace maintenance is important, go check out that previous episode. I'll link it below in the description. But clean filters equal lower utility bills. Dirty filters make furnaces work harder and they raise your energy usage. Getting professional maintenance. Tune-ups ensure that the system runs efficiently, and we catch these issues before they can waste any energy. Efficiency math. A cleaned, tuned-up furnace can use 10 to 15% less energy. That's money right back in your own pocket. So those three things, maintenance, filters. Again, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this today. It's just we talked about it last week as to why these are all important, but these are things that can contribute to kind of curbing those utility costs. So some energy saving habits beyond the HVAC system. So there are things that you can do with your house itself that can help manage your energy costs. Sealed drafts. If you have leaking windows, doors, attic leaks, bad insulation in your attic. If you have bad insulation in your attic, any heat you're putting in your house is going right out the ceiling. So you're just losing all of it. Even though you might have a really quality HVAC system in your house, if you don't have proper insulation, if your windows aren't sealed, if your doors aren't quality doors, you're gonna have what we call infiltration problems. So you're gonna have points of the house where cold air can get in, whether it's the windows or the doors, or you're gonna have points in the house where the warm air can get out, which would be your attic insulation. And that's why that is so important. Curtains and blinds. This can be inversed in the summertime, but in the wintertime, how we can play this to your advantage is open your curtains, open your blinds during the day to let the sunlight into the house. And the sunlight will have kind of what's called like a greenhouse effect. So it comes in through the windows and warms up the inside of the house naturally. Now, if it's 0 degrees outside, don't expect your house to maintain 74 degrees on sunlight by opening up the curtains. It's not going to happen. If we have a lot of sunlight and you have a side of the house that's particularly exposed to that sunlight, open it up, let it in. It might take the edge off a little bit. You could run your heat a little bit less. So, yeah, we just talked about curtains and blinds. Ceiling fans. So in the fall / the winter, your ceiling fans in your house most likely can reverse rotation. So in the summertime, they're running counterclockwise, and the way that the blades are bent is they're kind of pulling the hot air up out of the room and putting it at the top in the ceiling. In the wintertime, you can reverse that trajectory. You can reverse that rotation and run the fans in a clockwise position at a low speed. And what it's going to do is it's going to push the warm air that's up at the ceiling down towards the floor. So you're able to kind of feel that. Again, you're not heating your house on this method. What you're doing is you're lessening the load in the room. You're lessening the required amount of heat that your heating system has to produce in order to make it comfortable in the space that you're in. Also, lots of devices. Now, this isn't so bad anymore, but if you have older appliances like older TVs, older chargers, older game systems, even like older refrigerators, or if you have like a chest freezer or something like that, I probably don't want to unplug your refrigerator or your chest freezers by any means, but unplug unused devices. If you have large TVs that are old, that offset, that consume a lot of energy, chargers, old gaming systems, things like that. This isn't so much of an issue now because a lot of our electronic appliances are just so efficient and they use such little energy anymore. Where really the only appliances you have to worry about really contributing to your energy bill is your refrigerators, your freezers, your washers, your dryers, those kinds of things. Those are obviously things you don't want to live without. So just to recap these energy saving habits beyond your HVAC system. Seal drafts. Make sure your windows, doors, and attic are sealed properly. Curtains and blinds. Keep them open during the day. Let the natural sunlight in. Let that natural warmth from the sunlight use the greenhouse effect to your benefit, is what I'm saying. And then ceiling fans. Reverse those rotations. Push the warm air that's up at the ceiling down onto the floor, and that will, again, lessen the load. We're not heating the house by these methods. We're just lessening the required amount of heat that needs to be produced by your system. And then unplug unused devices. This is an obvious way to lessen the energy consumption in the house. If you're not using a device, unplug it, because you can still have, it's still going to draw power and use power even though it's turned off. So I mentioned at the beginning of the episode that there are some cheap methods, there are some free methods, and there are some expensive methods, bigger investments with bigger payoffs for efficiency. So, number one, get that attic insulated. This is not even buying a new HVAC system. Just make sure your attic has adequate insulation. Most houses I am in do not have enough insulation in their attic. They don't. And this is a big reason as to why there may be still slightly chilly in the wintertime, even though their house is reading 72 degrees at the thermostat. Another thing you can look at is a zoning system. Again, this is really, I've mentioned zoning before, and don't get me wrong, zoning is a great type of system. It can be really hard if your duct system is all kind of hodgepodge and you don't have any set trunk lines that are going to set parts of the house, because that's really where zoning is effective, and that's really what it needs, is branches that you can identify, like, okay, this goes to the second floor only, we'll put a zoning damper here. This goes to the master bedroom only, we'll put a zoning damper here. And if you can identify those ducts, zoning dampers are a really good way to increase the efficiency of your house. I will pair that with a caveat, though. Do not invest in a zoning system if you're not also willing to invest in a variable speed system. Zoning by itself will not decrease the energy usage on single or even two-stage equipment, because if you're only running one zone, say you have 4 zones in the house, you got upstairs, downstairs, master bedroom, bonus room, and you're only wanting to heat the master bedroom because there's nobody else in the house. If you have a single-stage furnace, your furnace is still going to run at the same capacity, using the same amount of energy and using the same amount of gas as it would if you were heating the whole house. All it's going to do is bypass the unused air and just recirculate it back down to the return, because it has to offload that air velocity somewhere. And if you only have one zone open and it's running at 100% capacity, that's going to be a problem. Zoning paired with variable speed systems, on the other hand, is an incredible investment, because if you only have one zone calling, your furnace has the ability to come on at 29% of its full capacity. That's the lowest percentage of usage that Lennox's gas furnaces can come on at. They go from 29% to 100% in 1% increments. They can accelerate and decelerate as they need to. But with a variable speed furnace paired with zoning, that's a really, really, really wonderful option, and you're going to see incredible improvement on your utility bill, especially in the wintertime. And that leads me to my next point: high efficiency furnaces or heat pumps. So if your system is old, say you have a single stage gas furnace, single stage air conditioner from 1994, which I just looked at one the other day. You got a 31-year-old system in your house. On average, upgrading from, and I'm going to use Lennox's signature system as an example because we're a Lennox dealer here at Comfort Solutions. We have been for a long time. No, they're not a sponsor of the show. They could be if they wanted to be. But this is not an advertisement. This is not anything. This is just me talking about the products that I deal with on a daily basis. But if you upgrade from single stage, low efficiency equipment that's older than 15 years to Lennox's signature system, which is fully variable speed, 99% efficient gas furnace, 25-SEER air conditioner. Their heat pump is the highest efficiency heat pump available on the market right now, and is one of the only heat pumps that are certified to operate in cold climate conditions, such as anything less than 30 degrees. Upgrading from here, your single stage low efficiency equipment, to here, your high efficiency multi-stage equipment, the average utility savings that a customer can or that a homeowner can expect to see is anywhere from 35 to 45% on their utility bill year over year. And plus, with high efficiency equipment, there are some rebates available. So Lennox offers rebates as the manufacturer to the customer, but there are some tax credits that are still going on right now through the end of 2025. If you're watching this after 2025, I'm very sorry. The tax credits are no longer available. But if you're watching this in real time, until December 31st, 2025, there are substantial tax credits available for high efficiency furnaces, air conditioners, and heat pumps. So, all of that being said, I'm just wanting to provide as much information as I possibly can. There's really I'm going to hit some quick comfort hacks that you can do, just kind of a little bit of a recap of what we talked about. Reverse your ceiling fans as a seasonal reminder. Make sure that your furniture isn't blocking your vents. Use a space heater sometimes in commonly used rooms instead of heating the whole house. This is a little controversial. This may not actually benefit you as much as the internet says it will. I wanted to include this in there because, like, if you have a giant house and you don't want to heat the whole house and you're just going to heat one room, getting a really high efficiency space heater might be a good option, as zoning kind of makeshift zoning type heating. But personally, I really wouldn't recommend that. All right, so some quick comfort hacks here. Reverse your ceiling fans as a seasonal reminder. Make sure your furniture isn't blocking your vents. And if you can, wash your clothes in cold water and run full loads. These little lifestyle shifts can add up. So as we're going out, some recap and takeaways. I've got 3 points that I want you to walk away with. The first one, small thermostat adjustments equal real money savings. Don't heat or cool the house the whole day if it's vacant 10 hours out of the day. That just doesn't make any sense. Turn that temperature down. Make sure you don't heat your house while nobody's in it, and then just turn it back on when you get home. Clean filters. Number 2, clean filters and maintenance equal lower energy usage and fewer breakdowns. So not having a breakdown, obviously, that makes your system cheaper to own, but if your furnace is on the verge of a breakdown, it's probably not running as well as it should be, could be consuming more energy, that kind of things. Number 3, small habits and insulation go a long way towards comfort and savings. So don't underestimate that insulation in your attic. I know you've been putting it off for a long time, but make sure you get that done. Or maybe your windows need to be replaced, or maybe you need weather stripping around your doors. All of those things can help out a lot just by simply from keeping the cold air outside. That's all we're trying to do is keep the cold air outside, keep the warm air inside. The insulation keeps the warm air inside. The windows and doors keeps the cold air outside, and we just want to make sure that we're not making life harder on us than it needs to be. So, on that note, I want to thank you for joining me on this episode of Chat HVAC. If you're ready to start saving on your energy bills this fall, take a few of these simple steps. And if you want an expert eye on your system and you live in the Cincinnati area, Comfort Solutions is here to help. Give us a call at the number in the description, or you can contact us at our email or website that's also in the description of this video. Next week, we will be talking about indoor air quality, how to keep your family breathing clean air as windows start staying closed for the season. Until then, I'm Scott Jackson. This is Chat HVAC, and we'll see you next time.